Hello and welcome to Network. My name is Pumela Lezondi with your technology and social media news. Don't forget to continue wearing that face mask if you are in crowds, sanitize your hands and wash them if you have soap and water nearby. We still need to curb the spread of COVID-19. Today I am in Howick, one of the towns in KwaZulu-Natal that was looted severely in the recent spate of looting that overtook South Africa, especially KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng in recent times. It's SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram News Network at sabc.co.za on email. This week, our Twitter poll is asking you if you have started attending some of those online music events that became more prominent as the lockdown kicked in about a year ago here in South Africa. This as YouTube has said that they'll be hosting the YouTube Festival pretty soon. The results of that are coming up later in the program. Firstly, here's what's coming up tonight. We find out about different methods of paying for goods and services as a lot of ATMs have been vandalized and there is a shortage of cash that you can find in ATMs that are up. And in our conversation, we chat about the security of some of those chat apps that we often use. There are people who say that Telegram is not that safe. What you find is that when you're driving through different parts of KwaZulu-Natal, a lot of ATMs have been vandalized, much like this particular one, which we found in Maryvale, just outside Howick. What it also has created is a huge problem of cash shortage, as cash is not even being delivered to those ATMs that are operational. So businesses now have to find other methods of payment. Some could possibly use a card, maybe even a mobile device. One of Sunday Lesbetter's fruits and vegetable stalls is outside Edendale Mall in Pietermaritzburg. It's one of the malls looted and torched during last week's chaos. He says because of the chaos and destruction at the mall, he also lost a number of customers.
Ikakhulukazi nje ngezizathu zama-ATM, ama-ATM asisenawo la okuyiwona abantu akade bekwazi ukudonsa ucash kuwona babuye bazothenga kuthina. So njengamanje njengoba nami ngingenawo umshini le machine le yokuswipe seke kube inkinga ke ukuthi umuntu akwazi ukuthola imali masinyane athenge kumina.
Sandile says the shortage of cash has made him consider getting a card machine for his business.
Lesigameko nje sonke singivuse lapho ke kuthenini umshini kumele ngiwuthole ukuze ngikwazi ukuthi wonke umuntu ongenawo cash akwazi ukusizakala la kumina ngale kokuthi khona into esizeyenzeka.
Some cash transfer vehicles are starting to be visible, but if you don't have cash, then you probably can't even buy from the vendor who sells fruit on the side of the road. And there are still shops that don't really take bank cards that much. So there are other cashless payment solutions that merchants and street vendors can consider.
If I'm paying somebody via M-Pesa in Kenya, they receive that money instantly and they can consume it, they can cash out via various agents. They have 180,000 agents in Kenya alone. So that makes it very, very suitable for small business users who typically are constrained when it comes to cash flow and they need that instant settlement that mobile money offers. Now, you contrast that with South Africa, where you have a card-led model in terms of the preferred payment method. When a merchant gets paid via card, there is a time period in between the buyer, me as a customer making that payment, and the merchant getting access to that money. It's not an instant thing, and I think this is a very big prohibitive factor that prevents smaller merchants especially from considering card payments in South Africa at scale.
Money Message, which is perfect for small informal businesses where you don't have to be a registered business or have a business account to get payments through Money Message. So any personal or savings account can actually be linked to Money Message, and you're able to instantly create and send bills to any of your customers. You're able to link this to a bank account if you have one. You're also able to make secure payments using MasterCard. So essentially, you're also able to send QR codes and scan QR codes as well. All this is done via a channel that all of us use on a day-to-day basis, and that is WhatsApp.
Those in the sector advise merchants to have multiple methods that their customers can use when paying for goods and services.
Amongst the most robust digital payment solutions I've seen would definitely have to be mobile banking or mobile point of sale in Nigeria. So Nigeria and South Africa are similar in that you have a very bank-led model for digital payments, but Nigerians can access their bank accounts on their phones and perform real-time instant interbank transfers 24 hours a day, 7 days a week between any bank in Nigeria that is part of the Nigerian Interbank Settlement System, NIBS. They have a facility called National Instant Payments, NIP. So Nigerians are able essentially to transfer any amount from any bank account to any other bank account in Nigeria in real time, at any time of day, for very low cost. And thus a lot of individual merchants, small businesses, and large retailers accept mobile banking payments at the point of sale. And this has been very useful for those users because the card penetration in Nigeria is even much lower than many other sub-Saharan African countries, completely incomparable to South Africa in terms of card penetration. It's extremely low.
Tap on Phone, and it's a first in Africa that enables you to be able to accept digital payments by converting your Android phone into a payment accepted mechanism.
Cash is slowly coming back to ATMs. Some say the amount of looting was as much as it was in South Africa because of the huge inequalities that we have in our country. Various reports often say that South Africa is the most unequal society in the world. There are those who say that closing the digital gap could reduce inequalities in South Africa. But there is a worry that the digital gap could widen these inequalities. There are schools who don't even have the most basic of computers to start teaching their kids typing. And yet there are also schools that have the fanciest of gadgets that we see in South Africa. Here's producer Unkemeti Kilebalegosi.
In her scholarly article on the Information Society, Alira Buurman describes the digital divide as inequalities to access to information and communication technology services, in particularly the internet. But to have access to internet, one must have access to computers and the skills to use it. Meet Lesego Mojapele. He is matric this year. Lesego has had access to technological resources since primary school.
In my school, we have a dedicated computer lab where people who find interest in computers can go there, and it's designed for computers, like for subjects like computer application, a CAD, which is a subject in which you learn how to program computers, build websites, and IT.
But Lesego is one of the lucky few in South Africa. Many others fall in other sides of the digital divide.
I see the computer because library khatala le mabuli like no mabuli library le go siamo a re me matriculation tsere ne le computer gore re tla re gone re dire do just go ka yone le mo eleng gore ya re ka re le ko varsity re itse re computer.
2/3 of high school learners attend schools which do not offer introduction to computing. Those privileged enough to get into tertiary institutions will first use computers when they get there.
A learner that has never really had access to a computer vis-a-vis a learner that has had access to a computer for probably 4 or 5 years before they get to varsity, their experience will differ significantly. The one that had access for years will have an upper hand on the one that has never seen a computer. Yes, with application and with a lot of effort from a learner that did not necessarily have the resources before, they can get to a proficient level of end user computing, but that will take time.
The lockdown that had to be put in place because of COVID-19 made this clear last year.
If you think about it, the future has space for e-learning. It's inevitable. So COVID has just accelerated that, and it's upon us in the sector to now start really thinking and shaping our thinking to say, how then do we infuse digital or e-learning into our curriculum?
Many schools had to learn to scale down from big computer screens to method that uses mobile phones because of the lack of access for many learners.
During lockdown, we dirisa di WhatsApp tsa rona go communicate le ma-teacher gore ke re kgone re dire dilo tsa sekolo. Mara principal a na re boletse gore tla ra dikolo di bulwa re tlo create di-tablet gore ke re kgone re dire dilo tsa sekolo sentle ka tsone.
Being exposed to IT is very nice for me because things like during the COVID pandemics where you have to go to online classes, your online meetings, everything's online and you can get education online. Knowing the websites, knowing everything is very easy for me to learn and get more skills with this IT skill.
We spoke to some of the learners who expressed how the lack of computing at schools has affected them financially and time-wise.
When you go to tertiary level, you'll need to have computer skills in order to be able just to complete day-to-day tasks, you understand? So to submit the assignments and stuff, you'll need computer skills. But now we didn't have such. So I have to spend another year and another money in order for me to have those computer skills.
It's very easy to establish what the differences are because they are less advantaged. They don't have the same exposure as I do to IT, computers, iPads, cell phones, and etc. It's humbling to know that you are very advantaged and able to learn these things because when they move to a high school like mine where IT is expected of you to know what's happening.
From time to time, we check in with some of your favorite celebrities on their favorite technologies. This week, we check in with the rapper from Bergville. It's Big Zulu.
Celebrities have used the increased importance of social media effectively to successfully market themselves. With their influence so great, it was only a matter of time before businesses started to use them to market their products on social media where they are in control. Take rapper Big Zulu. On Instagram, he mostly uses his culture, signature swag, and gold chains as a musician, but he has quickly realized that his appeal can be further monetized.
Ngisebenza ne-itel inkampani yamaselula amaselula amahle kakhulu kulula nokuyisebenzisa kuyinto enkulu-ke kakhulu kimi futhi ngiyabonga kakhulu ukuthi bakunikeza ithuba ngikhona ukusebenza nabo ngiyi-brand ambassador. Ngicabanga ukuthi into abayibonile ukuba unique nokuba yimina.
He now shares designs on his Instagram page made especially for him by Kavela and Brandwood.
Kulekhaya ubaba methanda ukugqoka uBrandwood yagqoka impahla like Scoshi. Then isikhathi esiningi wayethi mayeyothengela impahla nama ngithengele if uzikhona ezilinganayo then siqoke ngokufana. So into efana naleyo ngayifunda kuyena-ke so nami ngithema ngakhula-ke ngahambe ey'nyathelweni zakhe. So isitayela sami somculo nokugqoka konke-ke kuphuma lapho kuphuma kwimvelaphi yami.
Some people often lament the use of social media as insignificant and its ability to quickly spread negativity. But Big Zulu says he is taking a different approach.
Mina ngaso sonke isikhathi ngihlezi ngikhuluma nabantu ngezinto abafisa ukuzazi, sihlezi sifundisana nanokuthi abantu abangilandelayo babantu abalalelayo babantu engathi bakhulakhulile ngokwengqondo uyabo akusiya abantu abathanda ukuthukana kakhulu uyayibo yonke le nto leyo. So kweyami social media abantu abanjalo isikhathi esiningi abantu abahlezi befuna ukuzwa umlayezo ukuthi ngithini ngoba nasemculweni wami ngihlezi ngidlulisa umlayezo wami.
His popularity on social media also landed him a role on much-loved SABC1 drama Uzalo. He plays Sopuza, a charming young man with dashing looks.
It is SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. News Network at sabc.co.za on email. After the break, we chat about the safety of some of those chat apps that we often use. SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Welcome back. Now, there are reports that suggesting that Transnet has suffered a cyber attack, which is resulting in a lot of cargo not being released. When we got to the port terminals in Durban on Thursday, we realized that a lot of truck drivers were parked there. When we spoke to a number of them, they did tell us that they had been waiting for pretty much the full day, and they were waiting for their cargo to be released so they could load it into their trucks so they could leave into various Southern African countries that they have to go to. When we spoke to one of the drivers, this is what he said to us.
We have been here since in the morning. No movement here at DCT. We're just hearing from internet that the system is down. So we don't know exactly what the problem is.
We also are finding out that Telegram, that is a social networking platform that a lot of people said they were migrating to when the year started, it's not as safe as WhatsApp would often be found to be. So to talk to us about this is Brandon Peterson, who is a tech writer. Now, Brandon, thank you very much for being a part of our network. Maybe let's start with end-to-end encryption, which WhatsApp often says it prides itself with. What is end-to-end encryption, Brandon?
End-to-end encryption is a secure method of communication that prevents third parties from accessing your communication or your data while it's being sent from one device to another. This means that when you're sending messages on an end-to-end encrypted platform, the message travels all the way from the sender to the recipient in an encrypted form.
Don't all chat apps have this end-to-end encryption?
No, not all messaging apps and platforms have end-to-end encryption. However, most of them do have some form of encryption.
Why would they be worried about the Telegram conversations?
End-to-end encryption isn't enabled by default on Telegram, which is the concern. So in order to get messages sent via end-to-end encryption methods on Telegram, you'd need to go ahead and use the secret chat mode. Many cryptography experts have said that Telegram's encryption isn't exactly the most secure because their overall security method permanently stores all contacts, messages, and media together with their decryption keys on its servers by default. So in theory, that means that anyone who's able to access the Telegram servers will be able to access all of their data and information.
Because of this, would you then say that WhatsApp is the safest of all chat apps?
I don't think so, and I think that many people agree with that. The gold standard when it comes to data privacy, data security, and end-to-end encryption for messaging apps is actually Signal.
Has Telegram shown that they want to strengthen the security of conversations on their app?
Back in December 2020, there was a study that was titled The Automated Symbolic Verification of Telegram's MTP Proto 2.0. MTP Proto is the encryption protocol that Telegram uses. So this study was released in December 2020, and it did appear to confirm how secure the messaging apps' security protocols are. However, there have just been recently discovered security flaws which have come to the fore, but Telegram's issued a statement saying they've released an update which has fixed all of these security issues, and all users should actually have already received the update on their devices.
Earlier, I did mention that a lot of people were migrating to Telegram, or at least said they would be migrating to Telegram because WhatsApp had said that they would be sharing some user data with other platforms. What's the latest on this, Brandon?
There was a lot of miscommunication and misunderstanding surrounding what type of data would be shared and what these policies are between the two companies. So this resulted in a delay in these new terms and conditions, which users were going to be forced to accept. This also then meant that Facebook and WhatsApp had to clarify exactly what the data sharing policies were, and they ended up walking back on a decision which was going to restrict functionality of WhatsApp for people who didn't accept these new terms and conditions, which obviously included these new sort of data sharing policies or the updates of these data sharing policies. Since then, we've seen WhatsApp continue to try and clarify, this is how secure the platform is, this is how important your data is, they will not share it. But you've seen various regulatory bodies and governments around the world calling for more transparency when it comes to data privacy and data security, data sharing, especially when it comes to Facebook and WhatsApp. And, this has obviously resulted in a lot more scrutiny for both companies, but you've seen some regulatory bodies and governments actually, come up with, sort of new rules and calling for WhatsApp and Facebook to either, not go ahead. Some governments have ordered Facebook and WhatsApp to not go ahead with these data sharing policies. Where you see other governments and regulatory bodies in turn have actually gone in, placed a national bans on these updates in terms of the data privacy and data sharing. So, it's resulted in a lot more scrutiny from governments and regulatory bodies around the world when it comes to how a user's data is being stored, how it's being shared, what it's being used for, and ultimately there's been bigger calls for more stringent security and regulation around data usage, data privacy, and data security.
All right, so thank you very much for joining us. That's Brendan Peterson there, who is a tech writer and has pretty much worked for a number of platforms. And with that, let's take a quick break. It is SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Behind me is Brookside Mall. It's a new mall and one of the torched shopping centers in KwaZulu-Natal in the recent spate of looting and torching of shopping centers. Here's what else took place in the rest of the world in the technology space.
Usain Bolt said that advances in spike technology that could help wipe out his world records are laughable, and that the new shoes also give unfair advantage over any athletes not wearing them. After he ripped through the record books in distance running with carbon-plated thick-sole shoes, the technology has now moved into spring spikes.
I see that it's bridging. When I was told about it, I couldn't believe that this is what we have gone to, that we are really adjusting the spikes to a level where now it's giving us advance to run even faster. And for me, that it's weird to know, you understand, and I think it's unfair for all of the athletes because I know that in the past they actually tried and people said, no, we can't change the spikes. To know that now they're actually doing it. It's laughable, but it's just one of those things. So we'll see. I can't do anything about it. That rule is the rule.
The 100 and 200 meter world record holder competed in Puma spikes throughout his career. American Bromell is favorite to take Bolt's 100 meter title in Tokyo. He is the fastest in the world over the distance this year, but he is less convinced about the impact of the shoes. In China, the Shanghai's Astronomy Museum, the largest of its kind worldwide, exclusively dedicated to the study of astronomy, made its debut to the public earlier this week and will officially start embracing visitors. Located in a scenic area by the Lake of Shanghai, the museum covers an area of around 58,600 square meters with a construction area of about 38,000 square meters. Visitors can take a trip into a sparkling night in the Optical Planetarium Theater.
仰望星空的这样的一个环境。那么首先呢，我们使用了场地中央的这个高精度的光学天象仪它有很多的光纤用来打到荧幕上一个一个锐利的星点。我们在上海天文馆光学天象厅里面看到的星空，就是今天晚上我们到郊外能够看到的星空。而且呢，它的这个演示的效果是非常的逼真的。
The building of Shanghai's Astronomy Museum is designed to highlight the orbital motion of the Sun and the Earth.
With the YouTube festival coming up and Prince KB headlining the festival, this week Tutupol is asking you if you've taken on to the online music festivals and events that have been taking place. Now, 19% of you say yes, you actually like these festivals and music concerts. There's 30% of you who say no, you do not. And a further 51%, now that is the overwhelming majority, are those of you who say you have not tried them yet. That's it. That's all we have for you. Find us on SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. From me, Phumelele Zondi, and the rest of the network team, thank you very much for being a part of our network. Have a good one. Bye-bye.